What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Artists of Data Science Open Office Hours. Super excited to have you guys here. What a week it has been. Do we have a new president of the United States yet? I'm still not sure, man. I have no clue if we have a president or not. We still got Donald Trump as president, but I don't know if we got a new president yet. Hopefully, you guys got a chance to check out the interview that I did with Annie Duke that was released on Monday. She goes at great length talking about why you shouldn't trust the polls. So check that episode out. Also, as of this week, we moved to a once per week interview release schedule. So that'll give you guys plenty of time to catch up on all the episodes you have not yet gotten a chance to listen to. So hopefully you guys don't miss me too much, but go to the back catalog. Lots of great conversations there to listen to. Heads up that on December 21st, we're going to kick off the holiday hiatus. So I'm going to have a Christmas mixtape made for you guys. So keep an eye out for that. But let's go ahead and let's get started. We got Austin in the house and we got Nicole in the house. Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, doing good over here. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thank you.
Good. Yeah.
Awesome, man. So super happy to actually get the chance to meet you, Nicole. So I'm glad you were able to drop by. I know we've been exchanging emails. Nicole is the only person to send me some feedback on the podcast, and I appreciate that. So if anybody else has feedback, you guys have my email address, right? Feel free to shoot me a message. I'm super excited to connect with you guys. But yeah, if you guys got questions, man, let me know. If not, we could just hang out and just chat.
Yeah, it's great to put a face to the email and the voice. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah. So if you guys got Austin, do you got a question on anything, man? I'm happy to
Yeah.
help.
So I guess I have a question around I'm currently kind of in the middle of the process of going from Excel jockey to shifting more into programming to do more of my analysis that I do currently. And I guess I'm having a hard time trying to figure out when you have like deadlines and when things need to come in, where to start. Like, do I start at something that I just have to do weekly, just like a regular report, and kind of automate that piece and then start to expand from there? Or I guess, would you recommend just start trying to do it like brute force, like, all right, trying to do everything as much as I can to build that muscle?
So I guess let me back up a little bit. So describe to me more your situation. So you're using Excel primarily at work, and now you're wondering, how can I incorporate more Python into my day-to-day activities so that I can develop those skills and just get better at this thing over time, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I think a reasonable first place to start is by trying to replicate exactly what you typically do in Excel in Python for a couple of reasons. First off, you already know Excel really well, right? So whatever it is that you're going to be doing, whatever operations you're going to be doing, you're going to be confident in your output. So that gives you a baseline of comparison. Like, okay, here's what I did in Excel. Here's what the results look like. Now let me go and try to recreate that in Python and see if I get the same results, right?
Okay.
So start there, right? So now the next thing is, okay, if that's kind of my end goal, what type of activities should I start making this happen for? And I think you already have your answer there. You're mentioning that you have stuff that happens pretty regularly or on frequent intervals. Then start by doing those.
Okay.
So whatever comes up more frequently, just start by trying to replicate that into Python. And then from there, it's like, okay, probably step one is, let me try to replicate it in a Jupyter notebook. Step two is probably, all right, cool, let me try to replicate it on the command line. And then finally, let me try to have it maybe just, I don't know what your architecture infrastructure is like at work. Maybe it's just setting it up as a cron job on your local machine so that it just kicks off periodically whenever you need it to.
Yeah. So a lot of what I do I ended up working with like our customer survey. So like the feedback and at different points of our sales process. And we have data, like we have it in a platform, but then we also take that and export it into like data warehouse, so tables and stuff. So there's multiple ways to kind of get at it. And it's usually a lot of what I end up doing is there's someone comes up with a question and it's just like, oh, what's going on here? How is this coming through? So it's, I guess I'm trying to figure out like for those ad hoc ones, like getting more exposure so that way I can feel more comfortable doing that versus like the more regular frequency ones.
Yeah. I think that'd be a reasonable approach. Oh, dude, we got a surprise guest here on the office hours. This is the one and only legendary Srivatsan Srinivasan. If you guys are familiar with LinkedIn or YouTube, then you will know Srivatsan. He hosts the channel on YouTube called AI Engineering, and he is a huge contributor to the community on LinkedIn as well. His posts are always very informative, and his work is amazing. Srivatsan, man, I'm so happy that you were able to make it today. Thanks for coming.
Harpreet, by giving this introduction, you're making me log off now.
Was it not good enough, man? What's wrong?
No, it's too much.
No, man, no, definitely you did. You deserve it, man. You've been such a wonderful contributor to the community. It was an honor to interview you for the podcast and to have you take me up on the offer to come into office hours, man. That's awesome. I'm so happy you're here. So we're just getting stuff kicked off. Austin here was describing a situation where he's moving from the Excel world and trying to slowly pick up on Python. So he was wondering what type of tasks he should focus on, I guess, doing in Python to make his life easier. Do you have any input or advice to that?
Yeah, sure. So if you've been like doing a lot of data analysis on Excel, right? It's just Excel is pretty easy, first of all. But only thing is, as your data volume grows, Excel might really crash, right? And that's where that's where kind of you look at programming languages like Python and R, where R is geared more towards statistical modeling. Python still has the library, but not as comfortable as R. But Python has the market share. So one good thing is if you'll feel like once you get into pandas, it's more like a tabular data similar to Excel. Only thing is you need to know the respective functions rather than having like Excel specific functions like lookup and filter and everything. You'll have query and other functions in pandas. I would not say like it's going to be a hard transition. It's only like you're getting used to all the Python functions and the way of handling Python data types, right? In Excel, you will not have a lot of data type constraint and everything. So knowing the underlying data structures and data type really helps. And at the same time, like a lot of people get lost when they really try to master A to Z of Python to learn data science. You need not do that. So either you can take a problem and then start working, analyzing the data, creating data structures for that, playing around, and then running the model, right? There's no need to boil the entire ocean to learn Python. Just stick to what is required, and that will really make it easy. Start with the data structures, then pandas, matplotlib for visualization. I know Excel is pretty easy. You just click on the chart icon, everything comes for you. Things are done.
Yeah, my favorite resource for learning Python is called Python for Data Analysis. That's the book I learned from maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. Can't remember. But that book is going to teach you everything you need to know for Python with the application to data. So it's like an amazing resource. And another great resource, I think it's actually free on Udemy. But if it's not free on Udemy, the guy has the actual video series loaded up on YouTube, and it's Automate the Boring Stuff with Python.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with that book?
Yeah. He at the beginning of every month, he puts it for free for like the first week. So every month you can go and get a code from like the Python subreddit to get that for free. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, right on. Yeah, I just I picked up the book a while ago, and I was happy to see that he's got an accompanying course to go with that as well. So yeah, but yeah, man. So hopefully that's enough to get you started on your transition from Excel to Python. You know who else has amazing content all about Excel and SQL and using Python with Excel? David Langer on LinkedIn. So give him a follow. He's got some amazing content on there as well. So we got a couple of new people that just joined in onto office hours. We got Karan. Karan's like he supports the show so much, man. Thank you so much for all your listenership. And then we also got Shivani. So Nicole, if you got a question, let me know. You're also free to just hop in. Anybody at any point is free to hop in with any commentary whatsoever. So definitely don't feel like you have to wait your turn or anything. But yeah, if Nicole, if you don't have a question, then I'll turn it over to either Shivani or Karan. Karan Shivani, that's the Srivatsan Srinivasan in the house. So if you got questions for him, go for it as well.
Hi, my name is Shivani. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all good. So I have a question. It's I am pursuing my master's in third semester, and I'm in US. So now it's like high time to search, career options. But whenever I see that I wanted to be a data scientist, so the first question of every person I ask for review is where you want to go, like what you want to proceed, what is your area of interest. So
It's
I
a good
would
question.
could put some spotlight in it so that I can research more. I don't know how data applies to sales team. Of course, I know like I've done little projects, but I was kind of hoping more into it.
Okay. So let me just kind of deconstruct the question, make sure I understand it. So everybody's telling you that you should pick a niche for data and you are not sure which niche to pick for yourself.
Yes.
Or are you specifically asking how you can use data science for sales teams?
No, I wanted to look into niche.
Okay. So
how can I explore that?
yeah, I mean, first thing is just start thinking about what type of industries that you're into, right? Like, for example, I would never want to work in an insurance industry and I would never want to work in pharmaceuticals. Why? Because I've worked in both industries and I left them. So I know right off the bat that I would not pursue any opportunities in those two industries, right? Some things that I am interested in, for example, like e-commerce to me is extremely fascinating. So is manufacturing and so is man, I'm blanking on industries here, but let's just take those two, for example. So those two are very, very interesting to me, right? They sound like, modeling customer churn is interesting, modeling customer lifetime value, things like that. Those are very interesting to me. So I would gravitate towards that direction, right? But it sounds like you're in a situation where like you don't even know how data science is being applied to any industry, right?
Yeah, actually, the only experience which I have is doing, exploring Kaggle for data sets, cleaning
Okay.
it. And, this much is my experience, like, participating in competition.
Yeah.
And
So case studies is going to be definitely the way to go. I see, Karan, if you got some input, go for it. But definitely read up as many case studies as you possibly can. We'll dig into this in a little bit, but I'll let Karan chime in here. And Srivatsan, if you got any advice as well, go for it.
Hey, Preet.
Hey.
First of all, it's nice to be on the office hours, and I've been listening
Man.
to your podcast, so it's been great. It's finally nice to meet you. Well, not in person, but yeah.
Yeah, well, nice to have you here, man.
Yeah, and I quickly wanted to pitch in on what Shivani mentioned. I was in a similar situation, just right. I think just after I graduated in 2018, around this time. Of course, that was pre-COVID. But what I would suggest, and they said that's in a very honest opinion on things where if you are trying to switch any verticals or things like that, I always suggest people to first get the foot in the door where they have something in continuation, because the primary reason I suggest that is because I found it very difficult to convince people that I can work on something that they might be looking at, because in the US they have like an option of so many people applying to that position. It becomes very difficult to
Yeah.
kind of support your case. And you have to be very thick-skinned in that way. I mean, I started out, I didn't have any data experience, and my experience was only on that 1 year of masters, and it was pretty difficult. Like, I graduated in May, I got something in September, and that was like 1 month away from my final month in my. Uh, I had to get that job. Like, after that, I would have to pack my bags. So just in that way, yeah, I that's my suggestion.
Yeah, that's some excellent advice too, right? First, just try to get your foot in the door with any industry, especially if you have no experience. Learn some fundamental principles, some guiding principles, and then once you gain a little bit of experience, start to explore niches that are inherently interesting to you. Srivatsan, I'd love to hear what advice you have here for Shivani.
Yeah. See, one thing I have seen, and don't mistake me with all the master's education and college education, it's very algorithm focused, right? They teach you A to Z of all the algorithms, how to write it from scratch, how to use it, and everything, right? When you go to the real industry, to get to that algorithm, you need to build an pretty scalable pipeline at the beginning. That can be your data collection, data analysis, data, whatever it is, right? Data cleaning and other, or even like feature engineering, right? That's part of data engineering as well as modeling as well. I would say like broaden your skill. Don't spend too much time in modeling. Not that I'm telling don't work with algorithms and all. Stick on to algorithms, but learn other part as well. It can be some part of data engineering. You not master everything. If you are mastering in machine learning, yes, because data science is more than machine learning. Sometimes like we make it very synonym to machine learning. It can be your data visualization or any themes. Pick your theme which you're comfortable with, master one of the theme, and also build additional capabilities. Just have a know-how of other capabilities, right? That will make you more marketable, right? I know domain is something good to have, but when you're just out of college and working with a data set, it's very difficult to build that capability, but it's not like impossible, right? There are a lot of good data sets available where you can try to understand the domain better, read about the domain. If you're looking for finance, there is like American Bankers website, and there are other lot of resources available over there. So build like broad skills. I know like people will say like you need not do everything, but the industry requires that, because you're supposed yeah, a data scientist does not sit quiet for data to come to him. We need to be working with the business from the source systems to get the data and get it to the model, right? So broaden your skills.
Yeah, and definitely broaden it to be more than just the technical skills as well, because that will be super, super important.
I have a question. Like as sir said, that broaden your skill, explore yourself. So, like, what does he mean by that? Like only technical skills, or what else? Like exploring more and more data sets, exploring more and more practice, or what?
So it's a combination of technology and the domain, right? Domain is what Arprit and Karan both were talking about, right? Try to know the domain, right? Say if you're looking for banking, or I know like Harpreet said, it is not like insurance, so I don't want to offend him. so so just go and understand some of the business processes, right? Now marketing is kind of common for all the industry, but if you go to
Yeah.
banking, you can look at fraud, you can look at investment banking, how AI and ML is applied, right? If you go
Uh-huh.
to Google Scholars website, there is a search available. You can search for a particular theme like fraud detection in banking, and you will have a lot of problems over there that are solved using data science. There are a lot of research paper
Okay.
that you can find, right? So that is one part of it. Second part, even from technology, right? It all
Okay.
depends on where you want to get to. If you want to get into more like the business analyst or data analyst role, I would suggest focus on domain equally as well as technology, right? But if you're looking for more on the modeling side or visualization side or something like that, focus on technology core. Like pick up, like if you are learning data science, if you want to be in machine learning, learn all the algorithms, but at the same time learn data engineering as well, which is key to getting the data into your models. That was what I was mentioning.
Okay, I got it. So one mistake I was doing that I never researched. I just used to go to Kaggle and see at any random data and just used to think what I can get out of it. So
Yeah.
this was a good point. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So
Kaggle is good to. I'm sorry, Vaibhav.
oh no, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, Kaggle is good to improve your technical skill, but sometimes like the data set you play with in Kaggle is already prepared for you, right? They don't give the background about the data set, right? But if you go to a lot of external websites, you may find a lot of data sets where you have a lot of information. Go back and research that particular domain. You may find even more details about it.
And you can build out a real easy kind of data engineering project for yourself using your own data, right? I don't know if you have like any wearable tech, like if you got any wearable tech devices, right? Or even if you have any type of music streaming service or what have you,
Bank account data.
bank account data, right? You can set up a streaming
Mhm.
pipeline, not a streaming pipeline, but you could set up a batch processing pipeline where every night at midnight, you have a process that kicks off that just goes and pulls your previous day's activity, loads it in, does some manipulations to it, and then dumps it off into, either a cloud database or a local database, right? And that's data engineering experience right there at a high level. So very valuable skills. So just look for interesting opportunities for you to do stuff like that. I mean, data really is available everywhere. You can even have, if you wanted to, you can pull weather service data from like your favorite countries and have that refresh every hour and dumped into some database, right? So just little things like that.
That's perfect. I was actually going to ask what you guys recommend for some data engineering projects, and before I even asked it, you answered. So.
Nice.
It's a great one.
Welcome, Nicholas and Ashurdan. Nicholas is a friend of the podcast. He's been here a few times. Sheridan is one of my mentees from Data Science Dream Job. You guys are really lucky today. We got the Srivatsan Srinivasan in the house, legend in the game.
This is the last warning for you, Albert.
All right, no more.
No more.
No more. But yeah, man. So super happy to have you guys here. Shivani, any other questions or you're more than welcome to hang out for as long as you like. But if you don't have a question, we'll kind of go around and see if anybody else has one.
No, for now it's good.
Oh, Harpreet, this is Karan. I just wanted to add something that that sorry, this Srivatsan mentioned about it. One of the other things that well, over the last like maybe a year or so, we have also interviewed for some people in my team. One of the things that we noticed was like, some of the other basics, like for example, somebody has worked on a Kaggle data set for, let's say, one of the famous ones is like Airbnb data set, predicting something on the price, things like that, right? Now people have that on their resume, but when we are like getting into a discussion on, let's say, okay, how do you do this in, for example, a simple query in SQL, or what are the assumption of a linear regression? Now what happens there, and this is true for me too, like I have been in interviews where I have been asked these questions. Now what happens is that we have like a lot of questions in our minds about the advanced. I mean, I call it advanced because I don't work a lot in machine learning right now, but it definitely is important to get the basics right. That's my point. So
Yeah.
like like read a lot about statistics, read about SQL, get anything like at least 80 to 90% of what is being asked should be covered, and then maybe you get to a point where I think Kaggle is something that even I started out, but I have kind of put it on hold, uh, actually to do some more of reading on the statistics side of it, because I knew some of the questions that I saw online, or people sharing their experiences, I wouldn't have been able to answer, and that is something that I have to take home. So yeah, that's just I have started like suggesting this to people, sometimes who have reached out to me for referrals and things like that. That's just one thing that I would want to add.
So
Yeah,
how
it's
do you
definitely good
balance?
advice.
How do you balance the two? How do you balance creating a portfolio of projects and learning? Because if you stick to learning, you can spend years learning all the latest and the tried and true. And
But here's the thing:
Yeah,
you don't need to know all the latest tried and like all you
yeah,
need is the basics
exactly.
and a fundamental, like a bedrock, and equipped with this fundamental knowledge, you can build on it on an on-demand manner, right?
Yeah.
So
And
that's
that's a great question, actually. Sorry to interrupt,
yeah,
Ravi.
yeah, go for it.
So that's actually a great question. So to that question, so my answer is nobody is going to tell you about when you're interview if you mess up a SQL question versus if you mess up a prediction Airbnb question on your Kaggle dataset, you are going to get dinged more for the SQL because that's 101.
Yeah.
yeah. So SQL and statistics and some basic
Yep, yep, all the bedrock.
algebra.
And I'd say anything that you do put, like, first of all, like your portfolio, keep it clean. And by clean, I mean, you don't need more than 2 to 3 projects on there, and make sure that they're just airtight, solid, good work. And make sure that these are questions that you're able to answer, like upside down, inside out, like left, right, center, like any question that comes from any direction, you will be able to answer it, because that's what they're going to expect in an interview. Like, my favorite thing in an interview is, I mean, obviously there's a set of questions that I have to ask that's consistent across people I'm interviewing, just for the baseline comparison. And after we get through those questions, my entire focus is on what is on the resume. So if there's anything on the and I've had people do this, I've interviewed hundreds of people, and I'll ask something about the resume, and they're like, "Oh, well, I don't really remember how I did that. That was, that was so long ago," or "I was just working on a part of a team. I did one little piece of it," and it's like, "All right, well, why is it on your resume if you can't talk to me about it?" Right? So kind of have that threshold, that make that be like a mental threshold for your resume.
So
Regarding that, I have a
just 2 projects is
question.
enough, though.
I say, yeah, 2 to 3 projects is definitely enough, as long as they're really well done, really well executed. I mean, you have the solid repository structure, your code is well documented, commented, making sure that you're using helper files when necessary, making sure your top level README is just airtight narrative. I'm curious, Srivatsan, what are some things that you look for in a portfolio project when you're reviewing like candidates for a position?
Harpreet,
Yeah, go
I
ahead,
have a
Shivani.
question. Can I ask, please?
Oh, yeah.
Regarding the resume you said about the project, I have like 4 projects listed in my resume, which I have done. Okay. Now I can exactly tell what I have done. I can give answer that why did I choose this model or why I chose this language. But what if like sometimes it happens like everything, but one interviewer asks and it's out of the context, like it's a hidden question in it. So how to tackle that situation? Like I know it, but I'm just not able to you know tell you properly that, or it's a too much inside question that I never thought of it.
Yeah, so that's how you manage the question, right? Like, there's always a question behind the question, right? And you can always first pause and repeat the question back to them and dig a little bit further, right? Like, if you require more information, or if the question is not clear, then the worst thing you can do is just sit there, pause like a deer in headlights, and not say anything. So try to drill deeper, right? And offer up information, and pause and ask, is this what you are asking me? Like, just, making sure, right? Staying consistent. What do you think, Srivatsan?
Yeah. So let me first go to the portfolio question, right? And
Yeah.
let me, because like my portfolio question will answer some of what Shivani is asking. So when you're building a portfolio, make sure like the projects are somewhat unique, right? The reason is like 95% of the resume I see as a portfolio, you have stock prediction and you have fraud detection, right? It's almost common. And I'm not sure, like if you have seen resumes, you might have noticed it. So kind of try to get hold of some unique data set, right? And I'm not sure, like if you have seen my channel, YouTube channel, I have a video on how to build a data science portfolio. And I also have a playlist containing projects for data science portfolio. There are a lot of good data set available. And second thing is, in real world, the entire data will not come to you in a single CSV file, right? So try to correlate events, right? If you're taking a lending club data set, right, which is nothing but customers who can default. So you can always correlate to macroeconomic and microeconomic scenarios. And these data sets are available online. You just need to pull in that multiple data set, try to create some correlation, and then model it. Right. Now coming to the modeling part, when you're modeling it, make sure you just don't like create an algorithm and then tell, okay, this works this much. Try to create multiple algorithms and try to present as kind of a conclusion on what all you did and why did you select this and how you can explain the outcome, right? Because I can take a neural network model, I can fit it, and I may get the best accuracy. But if you're not able to explain the outcome of your model, right, then that algorithm is of no use in some industry. So the more you know your algorithm, you're able to explain it. That's added point. Third is how you can productionize this, right? Your README file, which Harpreet was talking about, try to make it a kind of a thesis paper if you can. Not that lengthy, but at least an architecture on how you can how you can take this model, deploy it, integrate it. Right, so that was, I think, Nicholas asking, right? So that is one part. Now coming to your question, Shivani, right? The real world question will always be like out of syllabus, right? Whatever you learn, you do, and everything. Now, when see, like whatever you have done, sometimes you may not be able to answer it. Take some time, right? I know this there's no one straight answer to it. Take some time, and maybe if you're not getting the question or the interviewer is not able to explain you clearly, take some time and always like ask this what you're looking for, or you can give me more details for me to answer, right? So that's the only way, and that's the best way. Like you can rather than pausing completely and giving a pass, at least give it a try.
Okay, so like let's suppose I have done a project on machine learning for false detecting alarm. Now, as you said, like I should take pause. And before you said that if they ask me why did I choose this model, and it might have like a number of answers, but if I'm not able to answer this question till their expectations, how will I know that at the same point?
See,
Like,
you are giving your best shot. The interviewer might have some might have their own like theory or solution in mind. Now you cannot, but you are giving your best shot. But if you are able to answer it exactly, okay, I tested with these three algorithms. Now these are all the metrics I got. But I feel like this algorithm will be better as I'm able to explain the outcome. Uh, Tie it back to your data source, right? And then you give a best shot. You now everybody has their own point of view. It's a science, right? There is no like one way of doing things. So definitely with that, but if you are able to put your solution, if you are able to confidently defend what you have done from your perspective, from to your satisfaction, that should be a good win for you.
Yes, I was going to say pretty much the exact same thing as Srivatsan, because at the end of the day, like you are the person that knows this problem inside out, right? So the reason they're asking that question is to see how comfortable and confident you are, because there's a question behind the question. The question is, how comfortable and confident are you defending your position for a chosen methodology, right? And were you aware enough, mature enough throughout the process to have at least tried a couple of different things, established a baseline, and then against that baseline, come up with some alternatives that either perform better, and then amongst those alternatives that perform better, like what else did you consider, right? So there's the question behind the question is really how comfortable are you defending your position, and did you think things through, right? That's what they really want to see, is your thought process.
all right. I'm a little bit like clear than before. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, yeah, definitely feel free to hang out, and yeah, if you got questions, let me know. So yeah, anybody else got questions, go for it. This is the part that I will edit out when it's on the podcast. Everybody on YouTube has to sit through this though, because I don't edit video. But yeah, if anybody got this question, definitely go for it. Not too often that you get to interact with Srivatsan himself. If you guys haven't got a chance to check out his YouTube channel, I'll link it into the show notes. Definitely one of the most handy resources, exploring every aspect of machine learning. So Srivatsan, I'm curious, man, when you're setting up content for your YouTube, how do you decide what to focus on? Is it from what students have reached out to you saying that this is what they're interested in, or is it kind of pushed by what you're interested in at the moment?
So it's a combination of three factors, right? Like uh, one is what my YouTube subscribers reach out to me, they want. Second is when I created the channel, I didn't want to go with the regular content of teaching the ML basics and everything. I wanted to keep it more towards how industry work, and that's my first playlist I created where I'm talking about ML engineering, because there were very few content on ML engineering at that time when I started, right? So that was the part. Then it was more focused towards projects, right? Be it like NLP, or now I am running a time series course, right? So this was more focused on uh, projects where you can relate it to how you can take a data set and how you can apply your algorithms and basically also get insights out of your model. So it was more that way. Also, like my experience comes into play because I'm not knowledgeable in all the reinforcement learning or even GPT-3 or whatever it is, right? What I know, I kind of tie it back to that.
One thing I always have students ask me during, my office hours at Data Science Dream Job is, students are always like, "Oh, do I need to know this thing yet? Do I need to know this thing?" Like all the jobs I see say they need me to know deep learning, and it's like, all right, well, you looked at 3 of them, and you saw them out of 3 out of 100. But when it comes to trying to figure out what to learn next, what is your advice to students? Is it go back and study the basics? Is it study this particular algorithm? Is it study this particular tech stack? Like, what if somebody's at a point where they're like, all right, I feel good with the basics, now what would you tell them?
So basics is very important. Now, if you tie it back to industry as well, most of the projects that are deployed in production are still the regular machine learning stuff, right? It's not like everybody use deep learning or transformers or everything over there and deploy it. I'm not telling it not they don't. It's not that they don't use it, but 80% of the project still runs on your traditional machine learning algorithms. We still deal with a lot of text data, right? If you be it in insurance, if you're doing a policy underwriting or risk claims, or be it in banking or any industry, if you see, we deal with a lot of structured information. And traditional machine learning typically works with structured information. So get your basics right. Be it the statistics part. Sorry. Oh, I thought somebody was asking question.
Yeah.
So be it the statistics or be it the machine learning algorithms and everything, right? Now the second part comes to being more kind of the industry or what market expectation ready, right? Pick up one vertical. It can be your natural language processing, it can be computer vision, or it can be time series, right? So pick up one vertical and try to master it. The next aspect is try to see like if you can also learn some cloud AI technology, because lot of AI projects are moving to cloud. It can be your AWS SageMaker or cloud AI platform or Azure, right? I know we don't have time to learn everything, but we are going to a phase in this data science world, right, where new things keep evolving, and the adoption is also like moving towards cloud and other technology.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Welcome to, I'm going to butcher your name, man, but is it Belkacem? Belkacem? Karan, go for it, man. Belkacem, if you got a question, feel free to just hop on at any point. Same goes for everybody, but yeah, Karan, go for it.
Okay, I had a question about, so this is something that I wanted to ask about was on In terms of languages, for example, a lot of what I do right now is, so this is an open question, like for anybody who has any insights on this would be helpful. Do a lot of work where I'm not doing SQL or Python actively in my work. Now, this is something that I want to do in terms of predictive analytics, but a lot of which I do is like more on the descriptive side of things, where I'm using Tableau, Alteryx, tools like that, a bit of SQL here and there. But so the kind of jobs I'm looking at, and it requires a good amount of hands-on SQL and even Python. Is there something that you guys suggest about including of course there are personal projects that we can do, but I think based on my experience, SQL sometimes becomes like or maybe lack of hands-on SQL experience becomes something of a deal breaker. And is this all based on my experience? Like, is that something that you guys first, like, two questions here, is like something that you guys agree with, or second is, and about how do you think the resume or something that needs to be included that would help me convince that?
Yeah, man, I'm about to out myself here. Like, I suck at SQL. Like, I'm not that great at SQL. Like, I know enough to get the job done, but I will slice, dice, summarize, aggregate, organize my data in Python, and then dump it back into a SQL database, just because that's what I'm
I
more
thought I was
comfortable.
alone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm more
that
comfortable
sounds like
doing
a
that.
lot of us.
Yeah, that's just that's at the end of the day. I think it's important to focus on how you can deliver value the most. And to me, trying to do what I do in SQL, I can do it quicker in Python, so I'll just do it in Python. That's not to say that it's not an important skill, but not discounting the importance of SQL at all. But Srivatsan, what do you think? What do you think and respect there?
So like SQL, if you really ask me, is very, very key. All right. I would start with that. The reason is, if you take Python, right, if you want to kind of summarize a data group by, you write, okay, pandas dot group by of everything. And then whatever you want to roll up cube, you write dot cube dot roll up. You can do everything in a single SQL statement, right? If you understand SQL better. The second thing is the support of it. That's the main aspect. Because when you're dealing with CSV data, right, or data in a file, you typically can use the pandas function, because CSV does not support SQL queries. But most of the time when you go to real world, you may be dealing with databases, you may be dealing with cloud, BigQuery or Redshift or any of these databases. And the only language that they talk is SQL, right? So your way of accessing the system changes. Now, you don't have to really be a master in SQL to start with, right? Because SQL is not difficult to learn. And with Google by our side, we always have a lot of solutions that can help us. So start learning at least the basic of SQLs, right? Like, it can be as simple as your window functions or group by and everything. Those are really not difficult to learn. And when you go to real world, yeah, maybe you need to write a lot of subqueries, joins and everything. At that time, you can pick up those skills. And there's a lot of resources to learn SQL, right? You can even sign up for Google Cloud. You get a $300 credit on sign on, and you can go to BigQuery. They have plenty of huge data sets and also working solutions documented. You can just play around with it and quickly learn SQL in a week time, right? So you can do that as well. But think about it, like, you can play around with pandas, but if you go to industry, you'll be dealing with a lot of SQL data sources and you don't have much option there.
Yeah. So, Srivatsan, thank you for that. And I'll just ask one more question, Harpreet. Sorry for that, and I'll then go back to the group.
As many as you want, man. Go for it.
Sure. The concern here was that so I agree with like, I have been trying to do things on platforms like HackerRank. Even on my even in my work, I try to get to talk to people about how they are working with databases. my concern and over the last 6 months or so, is more around when I mentioned that I don't have hands-on experience explicitly. Although I work with a tool called Alteryx, which is essentially like picking up things from SQL database. The problem is then it sometimes and that is my hunch about it, is like they wouldn't consider somebody who is not doing hands-on SQL every day. And unfortunately, yeah, that has been my experience overall. But yeah, that's something that I've been trying to
experience doesn't
build
have to
upon.
come just from work, right? Like you can get experience without having a job by taking on
Yeah.
personal projects. So
Yeah.
that's the important thing, right? Like anybody can set up a SQL server on their local machine, and anybody can pull data and have it dumped into this local SQL server and start
Harshit, I
doing
have a
stuff.
suggestion
Mhm.
for Karan for
Yeah,
SQL.
yeah.
Like you have to start and learn within just 2 or 3 days. There's a website called W3 Schools. There you just see the code and you can, they give you a practice type of area there, and it's very easy. It's very fast. You can really learn in just 3 days. The main focus whenever you go in front of interviewer, because SQL is like my strongest language. So whenever you like a person interview, they will only ask you question on joins. So according to my point of view, once you know how to make functions, once you know how to make cursors, once you know how to make procedures, um, the main thing comes, they'll ask when to use what. So that will only come once you choose the data set and start using joins, what is left join, what is right join, and making your own definitions in your mind. And whenever person asks you, don't follow the definition which is in like you can Google out, but the definition which you can store in your brain. That how I connect. I just write down small formulas like right join will bring right data and matching data from left. So like in a very short words, make your notes and keep those notes handy. It will just come out for 1 page or 2 page. And if you have that single page with you, and you're good to go. Nothing to worry about SQL. You just need to know joins. That's it.
I've been
Shivani,
asked some
I
more
need you.
technical questions.
Yeah, I need Shivani to come to every single office hours to give SQL advice, because that was really good advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, Nicholas, go for it.
I've been asked questions about like the order of operations in SQL that I wasn't prepared for. This was a while ago. About like how each of the different clauses, the order of each of the different clauses are triggered. I've also been asked to. I've been given practice problems, and some of them were more advanced than others. And there's a lot of other questions that I guess depending on the position you're applying to, if they really care about SQL, sometimes it's a little more advanced.
Yeah, so answer for this is like, this is very basic once you start, okay? So first will come select, then from, then where, then group by, then at the last order by. So
yeah, and
like,
in that question, there's also having and other functions I
yes,
didn't know very well.
yes. So the answer to is this, like select, from, and where will always be the same, and rest will depend upon how you write. Okay, so whenever the interviewer asks you that, tell me the order. So just give these three answers, like the definite, like the order will be this, and then it depends how you want to use.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that.
Typically, see, Nicholas, to answer your question, right? Like you may be given a problem to and asked to solve in SQL, all right? And many times, like it's more the approach the interviewer looks at, how you are kind of solving that particular problem. It can be a simple problem, but I don't think they are going to give you a data and then write SQL and fire it, right? But definitely they'll be looking at approach. One of the typical question we give is, I have a employee and he had 3 previous designation. It has 3 rows. There are 2 tables, employee and basically its roles. I want to convert that 3 rows when I join into columns. So it should say like employee name, designation 1 column, designation 2 column, and designation 3 column, right? So here what we are looking at, we are not looking at the exact answer, right? At least how we approach is converting from row to column is not easy task, but it's not very hard as well. So we are just trying to find, okay, is he able to approach the problem? If he's able to approach the problem, then we are sure that when we hire him, he will be able to like approach any problem in SQL out there. There'll be some questions which are not straightforward. We are not definitely going to ask how will you group by, right? Typically we go little more than what the regular SQL syntaxes are.
Good to know.
Some awesome advice for SQL. Thank you guys very, very much for sharing your experience. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Carl,
I think most. Sorry, and I think it more, and maybe this was probably my experience here, but was even my discussions about what I've been working with. We are working with data in like I work a lot with organizational hierarchy data, so we get to do like a lot of group by pivot things like that. But and maybe it was a small number of people where I was able to explain them how to do it, and in terms of how I do it right now with some of the tools that I use, but they were like very very consistent about just that you don't have any hands-on SQL experience. And I know I'm repeating that again and again, but
So
that was my experience.
next time that question comes, when they say, do you have hands-on experience, you can just tell them, yeah, I do SQL, not at work, but I do it for my personal projects, and that experience to me is hands-on, and it's no different
I'll probably
than
have
when
to
at
dial
work.
up my convincing skills there.
Well, when you're in that interview setting, like the words that I don't like, if you're in that interview setting, like you obviously don't want to say anything that's going to be detrimental to your chances of getting the job, and you also simultaneously don't want to lie, right? But just by flat out saying, yeah, I don't have any hands-on experience, then that's all downhill. Don't do that to yourself.
I have one
Thanks,
question
everyone.
to ask.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry for interrupting in middle.
No, it's all good.
Can you suggest me some video links or somewhere where I can see like how effectively you can express your project in front of recruiter? Let's not take recruiter in front of anybody. If I want to explain my project, see, I will explain my project what I know, but to keep it effectively is also very important. So I wanted to see some some samples of it. So can you suggest me some videos on that?
I don't know if there's any videos of people giving effective data science presentation skills, but I mean, it's just storytelling, right? Like, first of all, anytime you're giving a
what I want to see.
Yeah. So you think about this, you are presenting not for yourself, you're presenting for your audience, right? So first put yourself in their position, right? Think about what it is that they would want to hear, right? You make the assumption that whoever it is that I'm presenting to, obviously if it's your teammate or whatever, like you can assume that they have more technical knowledge, but if you're doing it in front of like a recruiter or for a job interview, just make the assumption that nobody knows anything about data science and present at that high level while periodically pausing and saying, I can go into more detail if you'd like, just let me know. I can go into as much detail as you'd like, right? But it starts with first thinking about, okay, who's on the other side of the table and how are they going to be perceiving what I'm saying, right? So Srivatsan, what do you think? I guess let's flip the question like this. Definitely go ahead and answer Shivani's question, but I'd also like to get your perspective on what are some of the non-obvious skills that a data scientist should have.
See, one of the thing, like when you're going to interview, a lot of people that we interview, they miss researching on the position they are coming from, right? And it's easy to research in today's world. Everybody has a digital footprint, right? Say like you are going to get interviewed from XYZ, you have the contact of them in the in the mail, right? So you can always go and research on what they work for. They can be working in the cybersecurity space, or they can be with the Amazon Alexa team. You exactly know what who are the people you are talking to, and based on that you will also know like what is the questions you can get it, and that you can at least like 30% or 40% of the question you can infer from the position or from the post they make, right? Like they may be on LinkedIn, they may be talking about something, ask some question. So the first thing is research the background before going to interview, and that will solve a lot of your problem, right? That will also improve the way you present it. Now, if somebody is calling you from the cybersecurity team and one of the portfolio project you have built is fraud detection, both are same. In cybersecurity, you are detecting outliers who are hacking into your network. In fraud detection, you are detecting outliers, spend like based on spend pattern or something like that. You can try to map your experience to what they may look at, right? And that's a good way of presenting it. I don't think there is any video that will really tell you how to present, because it's very like context specific. I'm not sure. I've not seen any storytelling video as well, but it's not difficult if you understand whom you are interviewing with.
Yeah, there's actually, I don't know, Shivani, if you have LinkedIn Premium. If you don't, you should, because LinkedIn Learning, they've got some amazing stuff. I'll put a link to this, but there's a LinkedIn course, Data Science, Storytelling for Data Science, I guess, or Tell Stories with Data. It's written by Doug Rose. Doug Rose is awesome. I got one of his books on my desk right here. He's got some amazing content, so definitely check that course out. And another person, I can't pronounce her last name, Cole
Nussbaumer Knaflick.
There you go, that person.
Yep.
She's got some amazing stuff on storytelling as well, so definitely check that out. So those are some kind of more direct resources for you, Shivani. So I mean, she might even have a course on LinkedIn. Cole, dude, I'm not even going to pretend to know how to spell her name.
Isn't it with the K? I mean, not. Her book, Storytelling with Data, is pretty good too.
Yeah.
I clearly can't spell that name. But yeah, check those check those resources out. Yeah.
There's a small suggestion that I would also like to add is you can also try, and I tried this during my master's, is that when I would sometimes present it to people like friends who are not aware of what I'm working, like at that point they were not doing any data courses, and spend some time with them just doing maybe a 2 or 3 minutes of presentation, not to bore them out with a long 10-minute presentation. I used to do that a lot and people got annoyed, but that was fine. I got some good feedback. Or even now, like in COVID, the times we are in right now, you can record something where you are presenting 2.5 minutes of small presentation and ask people for feedback. I mean, there are two ways of doing it. Like the one that Harpreet mentioned was consuming that data, like consuming something where you are learning. But if you are not doing it actively, and most of us get it while working, right? Even like before I started working, it was pretty bad. I think everything that we did in undergrad, I don't like looking back at it, but that was it took some time to, that's a trial and error method that you have to get to. There's no shortcuts around that also. Yeah.
That's what I was going to suggest to you, Shivani, is potentially you're just working with your friends. You could set up a data science lightning talks event. And that's a great way to network with other data scientists and kind of learn what's going on in their job search, or if they're already, have inroads into a firm that you might be interested in. Just having a platform to give practice presentations to each other that are 5 to 7 minutes in length, like you will just get better with time.
Thank you very much for that. And if at any point, if you want to come here and pretend like we are stakeholders and give us a presentation, you're more than welcome to swing by to these open office hours to do that. I'm happy to help you with that. Thank you very much for that advice, Nicole and Karan. That's some awesome advice. I also did an interview with T. Scott Clendaniel. I'll link that here, and he talks about how to storytell with data as well. So definitely take a look into that episode. But if you don't have LinkedIn Premium, I don't know.
Yeah, I have it. Actually,
okay,
my college ID, I can.
Perfect. Yeah. So I link that Tell Stories with Data for you right there. So that should be pretty useful for you. So I'll open it up for last couple questions. We're just running up on the hour here. So if anybody has a question, go for it.
Lightning round question. Do you feel like master's programs in data analytics, data science, and or computer science are valuable?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a master's degree in mathematics and statistics. I mean, they're definitely valuable, otherwise people wouldn't get them, but valuable for getting a job. I mean, I don't think they're necessarily valuable for getting a job. I think what matters more for getting a job is practical experience in the form of projects. I've learned far more outside of school than I ever did in school. So they're valuable if you want one. Are they valuable for getting a job? Not necessarily. What do you think, Srivatsan?
No, you answered it, Arpit. If it's valuable if you want one, you said that.
Yeah. Are you pursuing? Sorry, sorry. Somebody.
Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, no. I was going to ask if Nicole is thinking about pursuing one, but yeah, I'm happy to hear anybody else's thoughts on this topic as well.
So
Thinking about it.
I also think it depends a lot on at which stage of your career you're doing your masters. I saw different people deriving different kind of values from a master's, where somebody who has been working in the same domain was, focusing a lot more on getting connected to professors, alumni, various things like it. And just as I was trying to just, cope up with the pressures of some of the courses I have taken, I could see different people doing different things. So, and that's the best way I think about it is now sometimes people just do it online, right? And that's a good way too, like, because you get something, you need something in your work, go ahead and do something about it on, through an online, maybe a 6 months course. And that works too. Yeah.
And especially
so it
useful,
depends what you want out of it.
Yeah. If you're looking to get into research, then I think it's probably more useful there. Like, for example, like I was a biostatistician for longer than I wanted to be, but like you can't become a biostatistician without like a master's degree because it's intensively research focused. You're designing experiments. You have to have this deep knowledge of statistics, I think. So if you're going into research, then that graduate level training is going to be valuable. If you're going into industry and you're planning on staying in industry, it probably won't be as valuable as practical hands-on applied experience.
That helps. Thanks.
Cool. Take it for any last minute questions. If not, then
yeah, I've got one.
Yeah.
So one of the things that as I've been going through and kind of doing projects or kind of following along, I've been trying to find, or I guess, do you have any suggestions for finding data sets that are messier than what you would get something from like Kaggle to work on, like the cleansing and the pre-processing? Because I know that's probably the most difficult part. And I'm just trying to find more that's not something that's outside of work, I guess.
So where do you live? What city do you live in?
I'm actually just outside of the Twin Cities.
All right. So we're going to put Minneapolis, and then we're going to put Open Data Portal, right? Most major cities in the world have a open data portal. So it looks like city of Minneapolis does have an open data portal. By the way, Minneapolis is freaking awesome. I love it there. My favorite brewing company is Dangerous Man.
Yeah.
So what is this? I don't know what this, I am a human, actually. Yes, that's true. Oh my God. All right. I'm not gonna
some machine learning, right?
Yeah. But an open data portal, you know who's really easily accessible is New York. New York Open Data Portal. They have some amazing stuff there as well. So open data portals, that's like municipal city government data. My friend Mark Nagelberg actually did a really interesting project. He's here in Winnipeg, and he found a data set, and this data set had all the trees that were ever planted in the city of Winnipeg, categorized by neighborhood, type, all this interesting stuff. And he did a project based on that. And it was messy data, real world data. I was attempting to do a project, but then time issues, where I took data from parking tickets. I took parking ticket data, coupled the parking ticket data with socioeconomic data for that neighborhood, because they had that granularity. And I was trying to test and see if police officers were targeting poor neighborhoods and giving tickets in poor neighborhoods, right? So these are all examples of like messy open data that you got to work with, open data portals.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one that you mentioned about the trees, is that something that turned into a dashboard? Because I remember looking at something on LinkedIn that looked awesome about that. Like,
yeah, he did it. I don't know if he's revamped or anything. He did it all in Python. It wasn't a dashboard. It was in.
okay.
He had it. He was doing like GeoPandas. He did it mostly in GeoPandas.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was a cool project. Definitely check that out. I see. Yeah, Nicole. Yeah, there you go. Right on. Yeah, she's plugged the links right there for Mark. Thank you for that, Nicole. But yeah, open data portals, man.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
such a good episode.
Yeah.
He also talked about spaced repetition, which was really
Yeah,
good one.
that's his thing. Yeah, Mark gave him an open invitation to come on the show. He's his son was just born a couple months ago, so he's probably tired. Cool. Well, if there are no other questions, I want to thank you guys for coming on to the show. Special thank you to Srivatsan for taking time out of your schedule to come and give such valuable advice, man. I really, really appreciate you being here. Monday, got an episode coming up, releasing with Sadie St. Lawrence. That will be awesome. The week after that, I've got an episode releasing with Maya Grossman. If you're on LinkedIn, you might know of Maya Grossman. She wrote the book Invaluable. That's going to be an awesome episode as well. And a bunch of other cool stuff happening in the near future. Srivatsan, my man, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that. Everybody else, I really, really appreciate you guys being here, asking such insightful questions. This episode will be released on the podcast on Sunday. So will the video. So if you missed anything, you can always come back and listen. Take care and have a good rest of the evening. Have a great weekend. And hopefully we find out who the president is sometime soon.
Thank
All
you
right.
both. And by the way,
Thank you.
great
This was
podcast.
awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
man.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everybody.
All right. See you.
Bye.
Bye.